Hi, my name is Thomas and this is how I produced Blonde and Blue. Before I begin, Blonde and Blue is my debut album. I've been doing music for 5 years now, and I spent 5 months producing this album. A big reason is that I feel I've been spending a lot of my time doing music, just like making music for fun, making music for other people's approval, and just kind of making music for a lot of different reasons. And it's led me to have a lack of consistency. At least that's kind of like what I think. In terms of sound, in terms of brand. So I really made this album because I wanted to make something consistent for once. I put out EPs here and there, but still, in my own personal opinion, I don't think they're that consistent together. So today, I'm just gonna talk about how I came up or produced the album. Most of this album is self-produced. A couple tracks I've helped with, written with me, my close friends and stuff. Okay, let's go. So, story behind this song is I actually really wanted a song that I could flex playing the guitar. So I had this chord progression, pretty simple. I use this chord progression all the time. I feel like the majority of this album has the same chord progression. Anyways, but basically, I forgot when it was, but I went over to my boy Prithvi's house and I sat down and I wanted to write the song with him. I didn't know, I really wanted to use the word cellophane. When I was a kid, I watched a movie based off a musical called Chicago, and there's a song called Cellophane Man. It's a completely different story, but I like the word cellophane. I never heard that before, but I just like the texture, and I just like the concept of that word, and I don't think I've heard enough R&B songs using that word. So we kind of wrote it about the idea of like, how would we relate love and cellophane together? So I just kind of drew inspiration from my own life, and just kind of like finally being in a relationship where someone can see you for just who you truly are. I was also inspired a little bit by, there's an artist called Gallant, and he did a cover, and there was a guitarist, and they were singing together. It was really cool and really sexy. I was inspired by that. So these are all the stems I recorded. Right. Right, just something simple, and I threw like a beat together. And the strings at the intro, so I used MIDI to mock, and then I sent it over to Joe Bay, and he helped me record the live strings. Thank you, Joe. And then the intro, I called my boy Raph. I asked him like, I want to make something. I just don't know how to do it. Can you teach me? And then over FaceTime, he taught me how to play the Finish a simple arrangement, and then I just handed it off to David. And then we just worked on putting a groove to it, and that's how we finished Cellophane. Next song, Tiger Eyes. It was before I even considered making an album. I was in this huge mental struggle where I feel like I've made so many different types of genres and so many different types of music. However, I didn't feel like I was really bringing anything that felt original and genuine from me. But I really loved listening to music by like the Pipers, Pierre Puccini. I have a little playlist that inspired me to make this album. And none of it is R&B. All of it is cinematic, classic, old jazz music. And for me, being stuck in LA traffic, I would always listen to that music because it would just allow me to escape into like a different world where I'm not surrounded by a bunch of other R&B artists trying to compete to make the next best 6-8 song. I was really stuck on not knowing like what I wanted to do. If I were to put an album out, or if I were to put any more music out, like what would be different? What could I bring different to the table? I had like a long chat with my friends about it, and I just couldn't figure it out. Until one day, I was just listening to the music, and I just felt so at home. I felt so transported to a different world. From that, I had the epiphany to just think, what if I just took this world that I escaped to and put R&B together with it, or put whatever music I know and try to put it together. That's how I started producing Tiger Eyes. Okay, so everything started with this sound. I was like, ooh, this is like, I'm already falling into this world. It's not doing too much, it's not doing too little. And I had the idea of putting on some strings to go with it. I love cutting up splice sample strings and like pitching them, moving them around because I don't know how to play strings. I played this bass line. Found a simple drum groove. And then I added a guitar to kind of counter the melody of the strings, which is this. So yeah, that's kind of how the whole start of the album was made. I wrote the song and then I finished it off with Echo. David helped me polish it up, but the song is basically done. And that's how Tiger Eyes was made. And from that, I decided, okay, I think I found my world. I think I found the kind of universe that I want to create. So Bitter Taste is a little bit different because I actually made this fresh from the start when I was with David. Last year, I was really inspired by an artist called Zion T. I was watching him perform on stage and just seeing how he so easily made the whole crowd move without like lifting a finger. He was just like grooving. You know, everyone was dancing and stuff. So started last year, I really wanted to like tap into making like dance music. That's why songs like Too Close and Super Cali Girl, I was really inspired. So me and David made this track together over at his place. Just like a little... Originally, I was struggling for a long time to figure out like a chorus melody. I knew exactly how to come in. I was like, just kind of like the anxieties of being surrounded by people that you love, but also that aren't always the best for you. I wanted to have a dancey song, but I didn't want to sing about nothing basic. I wanted to actually talk about something real that I've been through, and that's how Bitter Taste was made. It was really quick too. So for Midnight Jasmine, David came here around the time I just got back from Hong Kong, and at this state, a little bit self-conscious, really anxious. I was really unsure about what I was doing anymore. So all I wanted to do with David was just have fun. I just wanted to make music for fun. I told him that I wanted to make something groovy and something chill. So he played like a drum groove and I played the bass. At the time, I was also really inspired by D'Angelo. Like sit back in his pocket and like not have to overcompensate and just kind of like be there, be present with the music. And the song Midnight Jasmine was inspired by a flower that my grandma grows called the Lady of the Night, or Midnight Jasmine too. And the beauty of it is that it only blooms at night and it smells amazing. It's like the most strongest pungent jasmine smell I've ever smelled from a flower. And I thought that's such a beautiful story of having such a limited time to be with something. And I thought that would be a beautiful love story. So that's how I wrote Midnight Jasmine. Now, On My Mind, which is the 5th song. Technically, I wrote that with Steven, a really good friend of mine, and David when we were doing a session at his, but it wasn't a full thing at all. The only thing that we really came up with together was 2 chords. I think we came up with 2 chords and a feeling. Steven had the idea of just having like a kind of, I had the idea of putting these chords. That's all we made in that session, honestly. At the time, we were already planning to film a music video. Boy Brandon said we should have a song. It could be about a girl constantly being like in your head about her, because we had this really cool concept for this music video, which is like a one take of me just like thinking about this girl all the time. So, and then I wrote the song, and then we filmed the music video. And then we added like outside chords. Bed on the ground, but floating up in the air. You know, we go down here. I just wrote about situationships that I've ever been in. I was also really inspired by somebody like I used to know. It's not glockenspiel, but it's a very similar instrument. It's like ling, ling, ling. Yeah, I wanted to sprinkle that in, and I felt like that was a vibe. I actually wrote this song 3 years ago, right after I got dumped. And then I wrote my Again EP. I wrote this song kind of like when I was in a really upset state, but it wasn't upset sad, it was upset angry. I was still too hurt for me to really say anything like that. But I did write the song and I really loved it, so I held on to it. When I was making this album, I just had to put it out. I felt like it was around time. When I first had it, I finished it halfway. When I opened it again this year, I could finally finish it. And I finished off the production and everything. The production was already basically there. I pulled Joe in for this amazing outro at the end. So I have like guitar going here. I have the guitar going through a phaser, which I thought was really cool. It gave me this really cool guitar tone. So it sounds like this. But without it, it's like this. I don't know if you can hear the difference through my phone, but it's like a little phasery, it's a little different. And then I used like some stock plugins to give me some guitar, played the bass, and then I created like a basic simple drum groove. You have this, so without the drums. And then with the groove. The speed and tempo of the song, I wanted to kind of represent how I'm hurt and I would make a sad song about it, but I'm like dancing through the pain. That's why I wanted to give this kind of groove. I think I subconsciously did that, but at the time I really was like dancing my way out of the pain that I was in. So that's why I made this song, and that's Lonely Nights. This one is one of my favorite songs off of this album. Not just because of how amazing it sounds, but because of how quickly we finished it off. Context, I was already done with the album. I was ready to move on. I had 9 songs done, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm tired here. I finally finished them all off, and I'm ready to send it to the mixer and finally get this thing out so I can move on. But then, as I was getting my hair done, my boy Yufan sends a track over to me, and I look at my phone, and he tells me how he's kind of been in a slump lately, and he just kind of like made this out for fun. I'm sitting in the salon. I'm like, okay, I like the strings, I like the drums. It's like something what I would do, okay. This is like, it's kind of like the stuff I'm making lately, and then this happens. And I'm like, okay. And then when the drums hit, and the harp, and then the little like response with the acoustic guitar, right? I was like, oh man. As soon as I got my hair done, went outside and I just sat outside on the whatever chair I could find, and I just had my headphones voice memoed, and I started singing and I started writing. I was just like, wanted twice, but you ain't. And I was like, oh shoot, where is this coming from? Came out really naturally. And then I called him, I told him like, yeah, we gotta finish the song. The album has to come out at this point, but we need to finish the song before it does. We met 2 times and we finished the song. Feeling was there, everything was there. It's definitely one of the most sporadic moments I had recently, especially at such a rushed time. He already had all the layers exactly where I wanted them to be. Vibes and everything were there, but we needed a little something extra, you know, really to drive it home, because we already wrote the song like that quick. So we thought, okay, what do we have like a different outro? What do we just do whatever? And I love how he just thinks out the box like that. And for me, that's my favorite. For me, that moment was like, this is who I am. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, this is me. Like, I've been spending so long, you know, singing to this groove here. I'm finally evolving, and I know this is getting really hippy-dippy, but what I'm trying to say is that just felt like a moment for me, and not just as a moment in the music, but also as a moment for me spiritually. I've made a good amount of 6/8 songs, and by 6/8 I mean like, you know, those kind of songs. So I really didn't want to sing about similar things, where it be love, another love song, or a breakup song, or anything like that. But when I wrote the song, when I produced this idea, I just produced a simple 6/8 song, but it was at the same time I produced Tiger Eyes. And I was thinking, how would I now take this world that I've kind of created and put it into a 6/8 song? Let's see. I use strings, I use vibraphone, like whatever dreamy instruments I could come up with. And then I just put like a very simple in the pocket drum groove. string line. You know, something really like French, Paris, giving kind of vibes, Ratatouille, you know what I mean? I just have very simple like. Because it just kind of reminded me of like the orchestra and like how they can just like throw little ear candies here and there, and then just locking in with the bass. Been really into like listening to like Frank Ocean and Kamari, and I just love how they can write about anything really. It's not really centric to love or anything like that, but it's really just about life. And the first thing that came into my head, I don't know why, but was the word track star. And I always wanted to write a song about a track star, about a runner. You know, you see all these like incredible like runners like Usain Bolt who have been idolized, and for good reason. I bet they have a similar, even a worse feeling or fight with fame and kind of like being in the spotlight. And it's very apparent. You literally run on the track, and by the time you're off the spotlight. I'm sure there's interviews and stuff, but it's not the same, right? And in my head, I felt like that's so exactly what I'm going through. And anyone who gets a spotlight for a second, even if it's about you in your high school days or you in your, like when you thought you lived the best moments of your life and you thought they were over. That's how me and Echo wrote Trackstar. And Echo has always been an amazing writer, especially writing about things in a very poetic way. So she was the perfect person to write this with. I know this is getting really dark, but that's kind of what I've been going through. And that's also kind of what I think I see everyone else going through, but they're too scared to admit it. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna admit it. This one is a little, Somebody Else is a bit of a deeper cut for me. And by deeper cut, I mean like more of a pain jabbing cut. I wrote a song about my dad called King. And this one is kind of like the sequel-ish, but the ending of it. I spent a long time going back and forth battling about who I am as a person, who I want to be as a person, and what he wants me to be as a person. Let's just say I was not in the best headspace. And I just picked up my guitar and I had this chord progression. Basically a letter, like my last letter to him. I understand why we can never get along, and I understand why we probably won't ever. And it's because he's wanted somebody else. I basically produced like a basic idea. Super simple, super basic. Similar instruments with all the other things where I'm using electric keyboard, guitar, bass, drums, very simple. And I just wrote kind of just straight from the heart. I wrote it in a style of like a verse refrain. So that means every section has a refrain at the end except the bridge. Say how bad that is somebody else. Somebody. And then the same thing goes. Wish you were somebody else. And that's how we came with the. But it was Yifan's great idea to put the melody in the chorus, because originally I left it completely empty. But he was like, what if you went like somebody else? Right? And I was like, oh shoot, like, and he was like, oh, let's change it a bit. I'm like, no, that's it. We're keeping that, and I'm gonna make it like I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, because like in my head it's a painful scream. It's not like I'm not singing it. I'm admitting that I'm never gonna be that somebody else. I wanted somebody else, and I can tell you wanted somebody else, and like it's a painful cry. And then I came up with a bridge. I can bear my final letter. I just wanted to be completely honest in the bridge. The song sounds like nothing I've ever worked on before, and that's a shout out to Yifan, because he really inspired me this year on like making music that doesn't have to sound like the same thing. I wrote this song again with the lovely Echo, and she helped me. It's an emotion because we're both artists. It's an emotion that we both understand very well. And that's the feeling of you're doom scrolling on your phone and you see everyone else doing really amazingly, and even though there are things in your life, you just can't focus on them. You just end up focusing on what you're missing out on. And I was really inspired by SZA. I like her melodies because they're quite, I would say they're cursive. They kind of like run and they just keep going and they don't really stop. Kind of like a train. But I'm really inspired by like this chord progression. So getting really theoretical. I think I wrote it as a letter to myself originally, but I felt like it didn't make any sense. It felt more like a breakup, more like why are we not taking care of this home that we both have? And when she came in, she was able to help me steer it into more of an internalized conversation, where it was a conversation with yourself about like, why are we not taking care of the home that we live in, which is your brain? Why are we just like looking at other people and seeing them celebrate their own? Why are we watching other people kind of like get on this train or like get away from it? And she really ate with some lines, for real. Like some lines were insane. I mocked up some strings with just like with some MIDI. Just a favor from a really, really amazing string player, Sean, to help me record. Every time he's recorded strings, it's honestly been an experience for me. It didn't feel like I was listening to a string player. It didn't feel like I was listening to an arranger. It felt like I was listening to another artist. I was lucky enough to be in a session with him and Luke. Yeah, just getting to see him work, I was like, wow, like it would be an absolute dream if I could have you play. Without Sean, this is what my MIDI sounded like. Right. So that's kind of like how it sounded. Not bad. I thought it was pretty good with what I could do. When Sean came in, just from the first couple chords. So basically, I don't know how he did it, but he took whatever idea I had and he just made it amazing, or really inspired, because growing up my mom would watch Disney princess movies with me. So like Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, all of them. And they kind of have this like cinematic Disney world. Because it's so pretty, I just wanted to bring that world into it. And I did a bunch of other layering things here. Ended it off with piano that I used for my 3 a.m. EP. Oh, also, I used to make a lot of duet me type beats on my TikTok. And the ones I really fell in love with, songs that were inspired by Disney and were inspired by like Ghibli, but they were kind of my own thing. This was kind of like my love letter to that era of my life. I got my boy Steven to help me mix and master it, and then I hung out with him in Nashville afterwards. But that is how Blonde and Blue was made. I really hope you enjoy this video. I've never done anything like this before. Growing up, I've always been curious about how my artists I've looked up to made their music, but they never really talked about it. So I thought maybe I could be one of the first. So if you're an artist or a musician, or you're just curious about who I am or what music I make, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Do share. And if you have any more questions, please comment below or just DM me on Instagram. So that's Blonde and Blue. Please go stream it. Okay. Bye, guys.